Imagine moving into a quiet suburban neighborhood, expecting peace and friendly neighbors, only to have a teenage kid demand your prized Mustang like it's his birthright. And his mother, the HOA queen, calls the cops when you say no. That's exactly what happened to John, a man who just settled into Meadowview Estates, unaware that his classic car would spark a showdown with the neighborhood's most entitled duo. The kicker? John wasn't just any newcomer. He was the new police chief, and the HOA Karen had no idea who she was messing with. John had been in law enforcement for over 2 decades, working his way up from patrol officer to police chief in a mid-sized city. At 45, he was ready for a fresh start after a transfer to Meadowview's local department. He'd chosen the neighborhood for its manicured lawns and quiet streets, a perfect place to unwind and enjoy his pride and joy. A meticulously restored 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1, cherry red with a black stripe, parked proudly in his driveway. John wasn't one to flaunt his position. He kept his badge in his pocket and his chief's uniform in the closet, preferring to blend in as just another neighbor. But blending in proved impossible when he met Lisa, the HOA president, and her 17-year-old son, Brandon. It all started on a sunny Saturday afternoon, barely a week after John moved in. He was waxing the Mustang in his driveway, the car gleaming under the midday sun, when Brandon sauntered over, hands in his pockets, a smirk plastered on his face. "Nice ride, man," Brandon said, eyeing the Mustang like it was a new toy. "Bet it's fast. You ever let anyone take it for a spin?" John, wiping down the hood, chuckled politely and shook his head. "Appreciate the compliment, but this car doesn't leave my sight. It's kind of my baby." Brandon's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. "Come on, dude, don't be stingy. Let me drive it around the block. I've got my license." John stayed calm, repeating that the car wasn't up for grabs, but Brandon wasn't used to hearing no. He stomped off, muttering under his breath about selfish old guys. John thought that was the end of it. Teenagers, he figured, could be impulsive. He'd dealt with worse on the job. But the next morning, Lisa was at his door, her lips pursed, arms crossed, and a thick HOA rulebook in her hand. She introduced herself as the president of the Meadowview Estates HOA, her tone dripping with authority. "We have a problem, John," she began, not even bothering with pleasantries. "My son told me you were rude to him yesterday about your car. In this community, we value sharing and goodwill. It's in the spirit of neighborly conduct." John raised an eyebrow, keeping his cool. "Ma'am, I wasn't rude. I just told him he couldn't drive my car. It's my property, and I don't loan it out." Lisa's eyes narrowed. "That Mustang is causing a disturbance. It's too flashy, and it's attracting attention. We have rules about vehicle aesthetics. I suggest you park it in your garage, or there'll be consequences." John wasn't one to back down, but he also knew better than to escalate with someone like Lisa. He'd seen her type before. People who wielded petty power like a weapon. "I'll keep that in mind," he said evenly, closing the door. He checked the HOA bylaws later that day, and sure enough, there was no rule against parking a car in your own driveway, flashy or not. Lisa was bluffing, but John had a feeling she wasn't done. A few days later, things took a turn. John came home from a long shift at the station to find Brandon leaning against the Mustang, taking selfies with it. "Hey!" John called out, stepping out of his truck. "Get off my car, kid." Brandon rolled his eyes but didn't move. "Chill, man. I'm just taking some pics. It's a cool car. You should let me borrow it for prom. I'd look dope pulling up in this." John's patience was wearing thin. "I've told you before, Brandon. The answer's no. Now please, step away from my car." Brandon laughed, but there was an edge to it. "You're gonna regret being such a jerk," he said before walking off. That evening, John got a call from dispatch while he was eating dinner. A neighbor had reported a suspicious vehicle in his driveway, his own Mustang. John sighed, already suspecting who was behind it. Sure enough, when he stepped outside, 2 patrol officers were pulling up, and Lisa was standing across the street, arms crossed, watching with a smug grin. The officers, young and new to the force, approached John. "Sir, we got a call about a vehicle that might be stolen or unregistered," one of them said, glancing at the Mustang. John couldn't help but smile. "Officers, I'm Chief John Reynolds. That's my car, and it's fully registered. I think there's been a misunderstanding." The officers' eyes widened, and they stammered apologies. "No problem, guys," John said. "Just doing your job. But maybe check with the caller next time." Lisa's smug expression vanished as she realized her mistake. She hurried over, trying to save face. "This is outrageous. I didn't know you were the police chief. But that car is still a problem, and I won't stand for it." John fixed her with a calm, steady look. "Lisa, you called the police on my personal property because your son didn't get his way. I suggest you read the HOA bylaws again. There's no rule against my car, and I'm well within my rights. Let's keep the peace, shall we?" Lisa sputtered, but had no comeback. The officers, clearly uncomfortable, tipped their hats and left. Word spread fast in Meadowview. By the next HOA meeting, Lisa's influence was crumbling. Neighbors, tired of her overreach, started questioning her leadership. Brandon, meanwhile, avoided John's house entirely, his bravado gone. John didn't gloat, he didn't need to. He'd handled the situation with the same quiet authority he brought to his job every day. The Mustang stayed in the driveway, gleaming as always, a subtle reminder that some lines aren't meant to be crossed. Reflecting on the ordeal, John couldn't help but shake his head. He'd dealt with hardened criminals, high-stakes standoffs, and citywide emergencies, but nothing quite prepared him for the entitlement of a suburban HOA president and her spoiled son. It was a lesson in how small battles could feel just as intense as the big ones. For John, the Mustang wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of his hard work, his independence, and his right to say no. And in Meadowview, that was a lesson Lisa and Brandon wouldn't forget anytime soon.